Hi, this is Nathan Adams, and this is my proposed mixed-use modern building at 203 Peel Street North in Ballarat. I am the building designer of this project, Nathan Adams. Consultants, most of them are to be decided at this moment. The client is Bell Developers, and the project is Task 3 Undertake complex architectural projects. So in summary, this is the summary from my research brief that we did earlier in the year. So my vision statement for this project would be a multi-purpose building complex with residential, hospitality, office and retail spaces. The building is to feel light-filled, warm and lively. The building is to be designed for optimal northern solar access all year round. This will harness natural light and warmth from the sun. The different building materials will provide interesting textures for the light to be reflected, absorbed and used in ways that will bring maximum enjoyment for the building's inhabitants. The mixed use of the building, especially cafes, restaurants and retail on the ground floor, will be used to create the feeling of the building being lively and busy by having people constantly around. So here are some sketches from my design brief at the start of the year, and in the top right here I have my finalised building design. So as you can see, I've stuck with the arches on the ground floor, the modular apartment buildings above, with an organic shaped roof above the apartments. I've also kept the building on the southern side of the site with a garden, enough space for a garden on the northern side of the site. So the project's located in Ballarat in Victoria. It's right in the middle of Ballarat, just north of the train line and south of Eastern Oval, on this great big block of land that's surrounded on all sides by roads. The cottage just there is no longer there, so that's been removed in 2020 or late 2019. But the building on the other side of the site is still there, and that will be removed prior to any works being done on my building. So here's the existing site plan. As you can see, it's surrounded on all sides by roads. All the services are all run past the site already. The site is about 50 metres wide, deep by 120 metres wide roughly. It's about 6,300 square metres and zone commercial 1. So there's a lot of opportunity for this site. So here's my proposed site plan with the bulk of the building on the southern side of the site, running nearly the entire block from east to west, while I have a ramp for the basement car parking to the northwest, with a garden cafe and a smaller secluded garden, and the public gardens right along the north. So the ground floor facade. So the ground floor facade, I've taken the inspiration for these arches from the Peel Street Bridge that sits diagonally opposite the site. And what I like about the Peel Street Bridge is it's been around for 160 years and serviced the Ballarat community well in that time, with no really downtime or problems with it. As well as it's also made out of red brick with a bluestone facade put on it, but that's very typical of the historical Ballarat landscape, and that's why I decided to go with the red brick arches here on the ground floor, to try and integrate this ground floor with the Ballarat landscape. As you can see, this is the jail. It's just down the road from our classroom, and it's red brick as well, with a few curves thrown in. That's very typical of the historical buildings around Ballarat. So inside the ground floor, not only got arches, but they've crisscrossed to create a barrel vault, or a double barrel vault, or a groin vault it could be called. There's a few different names. But it'll be just a crisscross of arches right along the bottom of the ground floor. So the only walls that will reach up and touch this ceiling will be the lift and stair shaft. All the others will be more like a partition wall. There will be glass that separate the restaurant areas from the retail areas, just for a bit of quietness. But it'll be mostly open, so you can see right along the ceiling line of the ground floor while you're in the building. I've chosen to use double barrel vaulted ceilings to make the building look historical and make it look like it's been there for a long time, as this was a very popular way of building back in the heyday, before steel and other structures were used to get large open spaces. Here's my basement floor plan, the ramp down, and enough car spaces for all the occupants of the apartments, as well as a bit of storage. There'll be enough car spaces as well for workers at the retail and hospitality places above. On the ground floor plan, you can see we've got open office space on the west side of the ground floor, enough space for a 200-seat restaurant, open retail space all through the middle with a bit of storage, and a nice cafe, open cafe on the east side of the ground floor. The public gardens to the north of the site, as well as a garden cafe with a small secluded garden, and maybe even a kitchen garden that could service it. There's a small space for waste management, and another small secluded courtyard for the office space. A bit of a retreat for the office workers. First floor apartments. So this is one elevation each of the same apartment. So this is apartment 8. So these apartments are supposed to be modern and stripped back, and they're not supposed to detract from the ground floor red brick arches or the shade structure above. They're supposed to just carry the eye from that ground floor right to the shade structure above and blend in. So they'll be cladded with vertical timber cladding. They'll sit independent of each other, and the external walls will have a slight radius on them just to soften them a bit. They'll be fitted out inside with a minimalist look, similar to this image I found of a apartment building in Melbourne. So be pared back, minimalist, which is also environmentally friendly, as you're not using large sheets of plaster to hide things that don't need to be hidden. First floor apartments will also have a communal space for all the people to be able to come together. This is another idea that I've taken from this same apartment building in Melbourne called Nightingale, and I think that's important to make a good community. So level 1 and level 2, these are our apartments. So there's 16 apartments all up. The apartments on the northern side are all slightly larger, so they'll be 3 and 4 bedroom apartments. All the apartments on the southern side will be 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. There might be some 3. The larger apartments will have enough space for a balcony on the second floor, but some won't have that. Each apartment is orientated so it sits independent of each other, as well as having a small secluded courtyard on the ground floor for the apartments. So this will be a space where you could have indoor-outdoor interaction from your kitchen and main living areas. There's sight lines right through from east to west and north to south between the 2 apartments. This is to make the occupants feel like they're not closed in, and to allow light to filter through, right through the building. When people come to the apartments, they'll come up this stairwell or out of the lift into a small room and then through to a hallway that's completely enclosed and covered in glass with a glass roof. This will keep everyone out of the harsh Ballarat elements, and they'll be able to get to their apartments from the basement car park below without going outside. So here's south and east elevations. Again, you can see these sight lines that cut right through between the apartments. Here's apartment 8, some elevations and some typical floor plan of what the larger apartments on the northern side will look like. So apartment 8 will have 3 bedrooms, a study, 2 bathrooms, with an open living. And a lot of the apartments will be arranged similar to this. Have a small secluded area on level 1 with a balcony on level 2. So the shade structure above the apartments. The shade structure is modelled after this large blue gum tree that's about 1 kilometre from the site. I really like this tree because it has a small structure at the bottom but provides a large canopy of shade. Really nice dappled shade, and that's what you'll want in summer. Keep you out of that harsh sun. So it will be a shade structure, it won't be a roof structure, it won't keep the rain out. That's where our covered in walkways in between the apartments will be needed. The shade structure will be made out of expanded mesh over a galvanised frame. The galvanised frame will be made to look sort of organic with a main trunk of branches coming off that hold up the canopy of expanded mesh. Because it's not a roof, it'll be just a shade structure, it'll be very light at the bottom. So this will allow for minimal bracing and structural elements. So we'll make it, which will help give it that very organic look. So the landscaping plan. This is still a working project, but so we'll have just a simple plantings out the front of the building, and you'll go through to the gardens out the back, which are accessible to the public via little gates on the side. So this will be a large public open garden with trees and a pond in the middle, with the smaller garden here that might be a bit more secluded for the garden cafe. This garden cafe could also be rented out as a function space. A smaller courtyard garden just above the open office space. So here are the solar studies that I've done on the building. So as you can see on the left, we've got the 21st of June, which is the middle of winter. and on the right it's 21st of December. So you can see in the middle of winter this sunlight will penetrate the building much more deeply, and that sunlight will hit the ground and bounce up and over and all through these barrel vaulted arches, whereas in summer that sun is shaded right out by the shade structures above. So summer the building will be nice and cool, while in winter this sunlight will warm the building significantly and create a really lovely atmosphere inside. My north and west elevations, as well as a bit more detailing of the garden cafe. So it's just a smaller garden cafe. It could be used as a function space or hired out as a commercial kitchen. It's a bit of a different design. I didn't want it to take away from the main design of the building. I wanted it to be a bit of a glass pavilion that sort of blended in with the gardens. Sections. So here in section 2 you can see lift and stairwells go right up to level 1. And here is the covered in glass walkway that'll help people get from their basement car park right up to their apartments without being outside in the weather. Some perspectives. Again, so you've got the red brick arches on the bottom, ground floor, organic shade structure above, and some nearly modular look apartments in between that with vertical timber cladding that are pared back and simplified to not detract from the ground floor or the shade structure above. Here's my sketch model that I've done for the project. So instead of making a model of what I wanted the finalised building to look at, I've made a model of what's inspired me for this building, which is the Peel Street Bridge and the large blue gum tree that's a kilometre from the site. So the Peel Street Bridge will be the heavy duty ground floor that's made to look like it's been there forever in the Ballarat landscape, with an organic shape above for shade structure. So the mood board, again we have the Peel Street Bridge. Dappled shade from our shade structure above. Some double barrel vaulted ceilings. Bluestone paving. Some minimalised fitted out apartments. Some vertical timber cladding on the apartments. Red brick, which is very popular around the Ballarat landscape. Some converted warehouse with some steel framed windows and doors. And the very organic looking Southern Cross Station in Melbourne. Sample board, I've got some red bricks, polished concrete and bluestone pavers. It'll be a mixed use of both in the apartments and the ground floor, and also the landscaping outside. Some vertical timber cladding, balustrading around the apartments on the first floor will be stainless steel. Nearly all of the windows and doors on the ground floor will be industrial look, steel framed. Some expanded mesh for the shade structure above, and some galvanised steel columns and posts to hold up the shade structure. And that's the conclusion of my presentation for my building. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you. Any questions?